Welcome to the Direct Line, powered by 10Bet. On today's episode, we'll chat to 10Bet ambassador and racehorse trainer from Cape Town, Adam Marcus. Stay with us. Welcome to the Direct Line, powered by 10Bet. It's a very special guest on the show today because he's up from Cape Town. He's visiting us in Johannesburg, primarily for the Betway Summer Cup, but he's with us all the same, and that is Adam Marcus, who is a 10Bet ambassador, as well as a popular and very successful racehorse trainer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Nick.
Taken us a while to get you here.
Absolutely. Delighted to be up here with the team and to see these wonderful facilities, and really looking forward to the big day tomorrow.
So the 10Bet brand is new to South Africa. I mean, you went very early as one of the ambassadors representing the brand, and they certainly are making waves in the betting market here in South Africa.
Absolutely. I think the content they're putting out on a day-to-day basis is phenomenal. We're bringing a new aspect of racing behind the scenes. The team often come down to my yard in Cape Town, and we following a couple of the younger horses. So the followers can really see not just the end product of race day, but see what goes on behind the scenes, how horses progress. And we're educating the followers, and I think we're heading in the right direction. And I think 10Bet's definitely one of the big players in South Africa at the moment.
Yeah, they've got a lot of futuristic viewing in terms of their games and in terms of what bets they lay, especially on things like sport. And they only came on board in horse racing this year, so it's still relatively new to them, but they plan to make a big go of it.
Absolutely. And I've spoken to a lot of the public, and 10Bet is being spoken about a lot in racing circles now. So I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. And fast forward a couple of years, I really think 10Bet's going to be the prominent name in South African racing.
Another prominent name is your surname, because your surname is synonymous with horse racing in this country. You have your dad, of course, that was very involved. Your uncle and your uncles have been involved too. So I suppose you had no other choice but to get involved. I mean, talk us through the beginnings of your racing, your love of racing, and was it always going to be that you were going to become the next in line?
Yeah, it was quite interesting because my dad got the job in Hong Kong when I was only 1.5 years old. So the whole family relocated to Hong Kong. I spent 10 years growing up in Hong Kong, and as soon as I could read a race card and the jockey's colors, I was following my dad. Obviously, being under 18, you're not allowed at races in Hong Kong, so I was never fortunate to be there to witness my dad riding at the top of his game. But from as far as I can remember, as soon as I can walk and talk, I could spot out my dad in the races. So it's been a passion, and my dad took his job very, very seriously. It wasn't a case of just rocking up and riding. It was his lifestyle, personal trainers at home, nutritionists. So we really saw what went into being competitive at the highest level in Hong Kong. Racing's been in my blood from the word go. I've always been a real keen sportsman, and I went to England for 4 years because I think my dad could see that my sport was of quite a good level. So I played quite a high level of cricket and soccer and rugby and stuff, but cricket was my main sport. And when my dad retired from race riding, we relocated to England, and then my dad got bored after. He was so passionate about what he did. I don't think retirement was quite.
Did he not get involved in the horse racing scene there? Because I think he rode there.
Yes, he rode there for a while, and then he was battling with injuries, his knees and his hips and stuff. So he decided to retire at 45, and he thought, okay, that's him done. You know, we're in England in the countryside, beautiful, nice and peaceful. And then he said, no, he's got to do something. And that's when he called, I think, Mr. Cantor, and said, if I come back to South Africa to train, would you support me? And he said, absolutely, let's give it a go. So Bernard was pretty much gave my dad the stepping stone to become a trainer, and the whole family relocated back to Cape Town, and that's where we've been since. So to answer your question, I've always been very passionate about horse racing. I wasn't hands-on with horses in Hong Kong purely because I couldn't be. But I followed my dad's career very closely. And when my dad opened his yard, I was 15 at the time. And the first day the horses arrived, I think I've been at stables every day since.
Really, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course, your dad, I don't know if you know this, but your dad trained a horse for me
Yes.
called Streets of Silver once
Yes.
upon a time, who I think won his first start,
Yes.
and may have won a couple of others as well. Still involved, though, your father. I mean, he like you say, at the age of 45, he was bored. He'd be bored now if he wasn't involved. So he has to be there every day, I suppose.
Absolutely. So it's really cool. The way we do it at the moment, I don't have a big stable, so it's a number that I can manage on my own. I've got the majority of my staff actually work for my dad for many, many years. So some of the guys have been with us for over 20 years under the Marcus Racing brand. And my dad's there for me every Sunday and Monday. And obviously on race days that I got to leave earlier, my dad's there to look after the later strings. And I speak to him every day. I bounce, for not to use his knowledge would be very ignorant. And programming of horses, work. It's easy to be a one-man show when things are going well, but we all know in racing things don't go well quite often. So my dad's always there for me, picking his brains constantly, and just a real asset to me to have his guidance along the way.
We mentioned just before we came on to do the show how competitive the scene is down in the Western Cape. It really is tough. I mean, there's you get most of the well-bred horses down there because of the buying power, and the biggest stables are based down there. So talk us through how tough it is to win a race there. Must be bloody tough.
It's irrelevant of the class that you're racing in, a Class 5 or open maiden. The depth of the general field in the Western Cape is unbelievable. The pedigrees of the horses, and just the specimens you're racing against. You can just look at any race in the parade ring. The horses are dappled head to toe. They've got good condition. There's just not only the top trainers in Cape Town, the whole log from top to bottom. I think the depth of trainers in the Western Cape is phenomenal. Obviously, there are what I call the super trainers that have got the numbers and the quality and all the big owners backing them.
Spoiled for choice.
Absolutely. And the depth they've got, there's always going to be a handful that come through every year and are going to be competing in the big races. Hard not to. In the Western Cape, it is very, very competitive. As a small yard, I've been very fortunate to have taken on the big guys in some of the big races, the Lormerans Queen's Plate with Vardy, and Mississippi Burning winning the Phillies Guineas. So I've managed to compete at the highest level and win with very limited numbers coming through the yard. So that I'm very proud of. With obviously the more horses you get through your hands, the bigger chance you have of getting a good one. But with our limited numbers over the years, I think being very hands-on and very meticulous with bringing horses on, I've got the ability to hopefully bring out the best in them, whether it's a one-time winner or a grade one horse. So, we've been very fortunate and very blessed over the years, and we hopefully looking forward to getting another good one in the coming years.
Yeah, to get a good horse is tough, but as you say, you've been there and done that. You've had the good horses. I suppose when you have the good horses, the pressure is really on because they've got to continue to compete at that very, very high level that they've won at.
Absolutely. My first grade one winner was Mississippi Burning. But just to go back to Vardy, his time at the top was very limited. He was plagued with problems from a very, very young horse. And I could see the way I knew the talent and potential he had, but how long he was going to stay there was, I think my first gray hairs started when I started training Vardy, because he was just over a mile. I don't think there was any horse in the country that could touch him on his day. And coming back, just to go back to that season, he had surgery and he was coming back from surgery. And obviously I had lots of discussions with the surgeon as to the time frame we've got from the time of surgery to getting ready for the feature races. It's not a horse that doesn't have any specific targets. You've got the Cape season coming. They're not going to wait for you. It comes and it comes quickly. So obviously after an operation, there's the recovery period. And then I had this limited period of time to get him ready for pretty much the plan was to go. The Queen's Plate was our main aim for the season. And I sent him into the Green Point. It's always hard to put a percentage of fitness on a horse, but if I were to put a percentage, 75%. And I said to the owners, if he can run within 3-4 lengths of them in the Green Point, he'll come on from that and he should be spot on for the Queen's Plate. Cut a long story short, he won the Green Point, and he came through the race sound. That was the most important thing, was soundness. He came through the race sound, and then he started thriving. So I went into the Queen's Plate very, very confident. But he was a hard horse to watch because he didn't have much gate speed. And Craig had a lot of confidence in Vardy. He used to just leave him alone, let him plod along. And they just had such a good relationship. And he had the trust in Vardy that he was going to make up 8-10 lengths against the best horses around. And I must say, I've got in my room, I think in my office, in my room, everything is Queen's Plate.
Yeah.
It was the one race that when I started training was the one race that I really wanted to win. I just think the prestige around it and being a weight for age, usually the best horses win it. And that year that Vardy won the Queen's Plate, I've actually got the one picture. There's greats behind him, and a lot of horses at stud now as well. And it was a race with a lot of depth. So to have won it in that year, I think was a great feat to the horse, to Craig, and to our yard. It was just a pity that after the July, he did his tendon, and we tried to bring him back. We took him for a race course gallop. He galloped beautifully. And about 2 weeks before his first run back after his second injury, his other tendon started giving us niggles. So I was fortunate that the owner said, guys, the horse owes us nothing. And he's now living out his best days at Claverflay Stud. It was lovely. It was a wonderful phone call. I called John Costa and I said, Vardy's going to be retiring. Would you be happy to take him back? He said, absolute honor and privilege. And he'll be here for the rest of his days. So he's now nurturing all the younger horses, the weanlings, and apparently he's just a phenomenal horse and great to nurture the younger horses for hopefully the future potential champions.
Now, when you get such a good horse, Adam, how soon do you realize that this is like going to be top of the pops? Is it very early, or do you have to have a few races before you can actually, or do you know there and then when you get it in your yard that this is the horse?
Looking as a specimen, he was always very special. When we first shortlisted him at the Book One sale, he was very immature, but he had a beautiful pedigree and he just had nothing wrong with him. He just needed time. Very, very immature horse. And it was probably too early a sale for him. If he were to be put on a 2-year-old sale, he probably would have gone for double the price. But the horse we initially purchased to the horse that came into me as a 2-year-old, he was double the size. He was very imposing, very laid back at home. And my dad always reminds me, he says, JPEG was the most laid back horse he ever trained. And a lot of the champions that he's ridden both locally and abroad have been very laid back horses at home. So every trainer loves to see their horses burning up the tracks at home and just doing, and they're very easy to get excited about. You call your owners and say, no, you just beat this horse. He's doing this right. He's doing that right.
Yeah, make sure you're at the track on Saturday.
Exactly. But often those horses make us look like fools. But Vardy, I think, when he won his maiden, I could see his turn of foot. And I knew where he was mentally and physically. He still had a lot more to come. And I'd always hoped that he would get to the top. But from a trainer's perspective, there's a lot of horses that go through your hands that you think are going to be Group 1 class. And then you start going up through the divisions, you put them in a group race, and then you come back to reality and you realize they're just not group quality. But every step of the way that we stepped Vardy up, he was just getting better and better. And at his peak, he was phenomenal and ended up, I think he was Equus champion miler that year. So
absolutely,
he was very special.
So talk to us about the future of racing, what you believe as as Adam Marcus, what you believe as what is in the future for us. I mean, it seems that the different operators are coming together and there's a lot more agreement than there's been in the past. Race Coast is now joined up. Cape Town and KwaZulu-Natal has joined up. Joburg, of course, and Port Elizabeth remain separate with a different company, but it looks like everyone is seeing it the same way.
Absolutely. You know, as a young trainer a couple of years ago, I had a long chat with my dad and I said, Dad, am I doing the right thing? Because it didn't look too positive at all. And since Race Coast and Mary Slack have taken over, it's brought a lot of positivity, especially as a young trainer. As a trainer, you're looking, it's your whole life. I mean, you can train until in your 80s, early 90s. So I'm going to be a trainer for a very long time. So the future is very important to me. Fortunately, there's a lot of young trainers coming through the rankings at the moment as well. When I first took out my license at 23, I was one of very few. And I thought to myself, when fast forward 15, 20 years, a lot of these trainers are going to be gone. I don't know who I'm going to be competing against, but it seems to be now that a lot of younger trainers are stepping out, whether it's into partnerships or on their own, and it brings a lot of positivity. At least you can fast forward 10 years, there's going to be really good horsemen and horsewomen around, and some real good potential coming forward. As far as prize money, it's going up. The prices at the sales are going up. The breeders are happier. I think the breeding numbers will start to increase. And obviously, the more horses that are sold at sales, the bigger our fields. So I think generally we're heading in the right direction. There's been a lot of positivity of late, and I think we're just going to skyrocket. Fast forward a couple of years, I think racing is going to skyrocket in South Africa, and also with the exportation of horses as well, that gives a big opportunity to getting horses out. We took JPEG, we sent JPEG to Dubai, and he won the Dubai duty free, and still to this day he's the highest earning horse ever to be bred in South Africa. But the process he went through to get to Dubai, it was just phenomenal that he could compete and win at that level after the flights and going through to Mauritius and then to Europe. And a lot of horses forget how to race. So we were very fortunate that it worked out in our favor. But with export opening up as well, it opens up. I would have loved the opportunity. Vardy, after winning the Queen's Plate, it was a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. If it was a case of, okay, let's skip Durban, let's rather put him into quarantine and take him straight to America, that would have been an opportunity of a lifetime at the time for me. So there's a lot of positivity happening. I wake up in the morning now and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years and seeing how it all unfolds for us.
Final question. There's a lot of syndication these days. You'll go to many of these sales being a young guy. But ultimately, the people that are buying horses, you've got to get them together, and it's more about education. Certainly new people in racing need to know that you don't just buy a horse and tomorrow it runs for you and the next day it wins. It's a process. So I suppose it's tough getting people to come into horse racing. But as a younger person, I think you got more of a chance to appeal to the younger audiences. The syndication thing, that seems to be taking off countrywide now, and there's a lot more incentivization for it.
Yes, yeah. I've actually got a lovely horse called Objet Dar that won his maiden the other day for the racing club, Kurt Felix, and he's got a great group of young guys that just love racing. And fortunately, they've known racing for many years, so it hasn't been a case of educating them. They all have owned horses before, but they just absolutely loving the syndication part of it. It's a whole big group of mates, and even the new guys that have come in, they've all grown friendships out of racing as well. I've recently started P3 Racing Syndicate, which is Pride, Power, Precision, which has always been our slogan, and just thought it was something different with 2 horses. We're just starting off, so I'm hoping that can build as well. And I've got a couple of new people in racing and a couple of current owners that have owned many horses over the years as well. But I do think syndication as a starting point is very good. I think a lot of it all depends on how lucky you are with new clients. If a new client comes in and takes, let's say, 5% of a horse and it runs a lot of places and wins, and they get a taste of what winning's all about, they'll want more.
Absolutely,
as for someone that comes in and they really get something that's really moderate, they may say, no, not for me. So I think the luck involved is a big part of it, but you just hope you crack it lucky for the right people. But I do think overseas syndication has taken off in Australia. There's hundreds of guys that are coming, and you can go as small as going 1%. So it's the same as going and buying a beer for the guys. So I do think syndication has a big place in South African racing, and to take on the big owners, you need numbers and you need a lot of people backing you as well. So yeah, I really hope syndication does go from strength to strength.
Adam Marcus, it's been my pleasure hosting you here on the Direct Line, powered by 10Bet. Thanks for all the good work you're doing for the 10Bet brand, and wishing you all the success in the future as a racehorse trainer. Let's hope that you visit that winners enclosure many more times.
Thanks so much, Nico. It's an absolute pleasure and honor for me to be one of 10Bet's ambassadors.
Thanks very much. That's Adam Marcus here on the Direct Line, powered by 10Bet. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you next week again. Bye-bye.